it's a good opportunity to crack on with the solar panel installation.
I'm very happy.
This is Ton's mistake, isn't it, Ton?
Really happy. That makes me happy.
No, not Tui, Ton.
Everybody's happy.
Don't know what to do. 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 My heart's don't know what to do.
One recalcitrant cat rescued from inside that lovely boat over there, their lazarette.
Bright morning here, as you can see, which makes a change because for the last couple of days it's been horrendous weather, more strong winds and rain, but this is normal for this time of year. Over there, sorry you can't see me, over there is Tui cutting up the next curve. I'm going to show you what they're up to. Okay, so what Tui is doing here is to make the second curve. Ton's working on the first one with the perspex acrylic. This is our 5mm acrylic, which the guys are bending with a heat gun, and that curve you saw Tui working on, there's another one there under Ton's acrylic here, and that follows the shape of our curves in the cockpit. So what they're doing is bending the acrylic with the heat gun very slowly. This is a very slow process. It takes a few days, and they have to clamp it down to keep the curvature so that the plastic remembers the curve, and I think they'll leave it for another couple of days until it's kind of set, as it were. But they're getting there.
Morning, hello, I'm on Esper and I'm using my new camera for the very first time. It's very windy, so apologies now if there's too much wind going on. We won't use the footage if there's too much wind, but anyway, let's have a look. So today my task is to try and get the hatch back on in the saloon. So actually the hatch is on, but it's the glass. We had to take the glass out because that was what was causing the leak that has been there for the last few years. Small leak, but bad enough to cause us a problem. So I've taken the glass out. I've tried to remove as much of the Sikaplex as I can, and the idea is that when we replace it, we'll be putting a Sika primer on first, because that was the problem. The old Sika was coming away from the glass and it was allowing a little bit of water ingress. So I'll show you what I've done so far. One of the things we have to contend to here is the southwest monsoon, so you have to dodge the squalls. There's one coming right this way, so I'm going to hold off on doing anything to the hatch till this is gone. We thought we'd just do a quick piece to camera to talk about the fuel leak and the new system we've put in place. We've done a lot of maintenance on this boat and we've had a lot of ups and downs, but this diesel thing is just about the worst thing I can remember. I'm not going to go into too much detail. We've covered this off in so many episodes now. What's really difficult is every time we put the diesel in, we find another little leak, so we then have to take it out. And just putting diesel in and taking diesel out is a pain in the arse. We're really bored and tired of dealing with this. And then once we've taken it out, I have to get into each of the tanks and clean them out again. I've just had enough of it, you know. And I'm sure you're probably bored and tired of us talking about it. I just really hope this is the last time. I really do. Otherwise I don't know what I'm going to do. But what we've done, it's an idea that we had a few weeks ago. Ricky came up with the idea, and a couple of you guys on YouTube came up with the idea as well. In fact, one of you even posted a link to a particular piece that we are using. Basically, we've done away with the 4 bolted pipe. We've put in bronze skin fittings instead. So the skin fitting is inside the tank, it juts out, and we've managed to thread a very tight elbow onto each side,
and then from that elbow we have 2 hose tails, and then we've modified the old pipe that we had. We've cut it off, and the guys in the shop have turned each end so they are also hose tails either end. So effectively we end up with 2 pieces of rubber fuel hose about 6 inches long either side. So this does 2 things. The first is that it eliminates those bolt holes, so now we only have 1 hole coming out of the tank. The second thing it does is it allows for any movement. There's a bit of flexibility because of that rubber pipe. So we've put it in place. We had a couple of hiccups making sure it was absolutely sealed up, but we're getting there with each term. We've had to take it off a couple of times, but we think we've finally got there now. The last thing I'm doing is I'm running some epoxy putty around the hose tail fittings where we've used PTFE tape, and this is just to make absolutely sure that there is no leakage. We may even glass fibre over the top of that, but this is a much simpler solution. So thank you guys, whoever it was that came up with these ideas. You confirmed the ideas we were having ourselves, so we are 1 step away from completing this task, putting fuel back in the tanks, the califier back in place, and we will have water once more on Esper.
Underneath this little lot behind me is the hatch. We've got 2 cans of beer, various tarpaulins keeping out the weather, which is now brighter here. So let's open it all up and see how far I've got.
Ton, come here. I've got something to show everyone. Have a look at this. Ton, what's this?
New.
Okay, this is Ton's mistake, isn't it, Ton? Ton, can you explain what you've done, please?
Yeah. And new one piece.
Yes.
One cannot.
Someone f***ed, didn't they?
Tui.
No, not Tui, Ton. Ton f***ed because he tried to cut the piece of perspex whilst it was in situ with a jigsaw, and it snapped in half. So we're taking it out of his wages. We're not really, but we like to tell him that we are. So expensive experiment. So there we go. It's Friday, so they've got 1 more day before they take the day off, obviously. We'd like to have the second one bent in situ, but not sure if they're going to get it done in time. As you saw, Tom broke one of them by trying to jigsaw it in place. Didn't work. The problem is that we can only fit 1 curve per piece of perspex, so if they break one, we have to buy another piece. So at the moment we are waiting for new seacocks and new skin fittings, because we've had this issue with the seacocks, and unfortunately we have to wait a couple of days. So it's a good opportunity to crack on with the solar panel installation. So here you can see 2 MPPTs, and we'll be using 3. Now the third one will probably sit in that cupboard over there because the original solar panels have been wired up to go there. I had a look this morning to see if I could rewire it, so it means undoing all the cables from over there and putting them through here. So I think what I'll do is I'll hide one of the MPPTs. I thought at this point I'd break down for you our proposed solar panel wiring schematic. We've based this on resources from across the internet, but we would be interested to hear from anyone out there who has installed a similar setup, so please do leave your comments below. So our proposed setup will consist of 3 separate arrays. We start with our single Panasonic 325 watt that hangs off the back of the boat. This has an open circuit voltage of 69.6 volts and a short circuit current of 6.03 amps. The next array are our 2 Panasonic 240 watt panels, one on the port side aft quarter and one on the starboard. They're wired in parallel. They will have an open circuit voltage of 52.4 volts and each has a short circuit current of 5.85 amps, making a combined current of 11.7 amps. The third array, also wired in parallel, are our old Kyocera 40-watt panels which used to hang where the new two 40-watt panels are going to go. They're now mounted on the Dodger. They have an open circuit voltage of 21.7 volts and each has a short circuit current of 2.65 amps, giving a combined current of 10.5 amps. Each of these arrays will go through a circuit breaker based upon the total short circuit current of each array, plus a bit extra. Although to be honest, this actually comes down to local availability of said breaker. Now this is where we could do with your feedback. In the past, we've run our panels through a positive breaker only, but you'll see in our illustration that we're showing breakers that allow for both positive and negative wiring. So our question is, how important is it to run both the positive and the negative through a breaker? Is it okay to bypass the negative? Interested in your thoughts on this? Each array, after it goes through its rated breaker, then goes to a Tracer EP-Ever 3215BN maximum power point tracking unit. These are rated at 30 amp and can output at both 12 volt and 24 volt. Since we're having to install 3 MPPTs, we've gone for these slightly cheaper units, but we've used Tracer in the past and they're okay. Perhaps when funds allow, we'll go for Victron. Our intention was to then run these 3 MPPT outputs through a common bus bar and to a single 60 amp breaker before going to the battery. Our idea is to run the mains charger, rated at 45 amp, also through a bus bar. Interested in people's thoughts on this? That 60 amp breaker will then go directly to the batteries. Of course, none of this is going to happen until we leave Thailand and pick up our panels in Pankor, but this is our current working schematic. If you have any comments or suggestions, please do leave them in the comments section below. You know we love reading your ideas.
I'm very happy, really happy, so happy. Because the thing that's been worrying me most about the Dodger has always been the canvas. And then when we decided to put acrylic on the front, acrylic windows, how we're going to connect it all up together, and finding a good canvas person in this part of the world is difficult. Anyway, recommended by our friend on Java Yachting, John, we have Sen here at the moment, and he has been working out everything that we need to do to connect the canvas correctly and neatly. So we thought we'd get our stainless guy around so they could talk together, and it turns out they've known each other donkey's years and had been in out of touch, and there was a huge reunion, and so that makes me happy, it makes them happy, everybody's happy.
Well, everyone here is on tenterhooks at the moment. The boys have brought up the acrylic up onto the curve that it's going to fit into. Disappointingly, the acrylic kind of sprung back into an almost straight piece again when they took it off the template. So they brought the template up and they're now going to fix it in place temporarily. I think the plan is for Lek to come along and to put the stainless in place to work out exactly where it's going to fix. Little unclear myself, but at least Ton and Lek have been talking to each other, and I think at least they have an idea of what's going on. I'm a little confused, but when it's this nerve-wracking, I tend to look away and leave it to the pros. Well, it's been an up and down day. We've had some success and we've had some failures. Haven't told you about this seacock problem, but it's Friday evening and I can't be bothered to go into that now. So what we're doing instead, since it's 5 o'clock Friday evening, Ricky's invited us for a few beers out the back of his workshop. And so here we are. These are all of his workers. They work on his boat when they're not doing anything else, but you probably recognise some of these guys. There's him down there who you've seen before, and half of these guys have helped us with seacocks and things, but it's a nice little setup just sitting out the back here. You've got the mangroves, the sea is somewhere through the other side there, but it's nice just to hang out and have a beer and take it easy with these boys and girls.
So are you going to tell us about those seacocks now then?
No, not at all. It's another problem we've run into. We'll tell you all about that in a future episode.
Yeah.
It's educational.
Yeah, we learned a lot, and we also taught the supplier something as well, didn't we, along the way? But anyway, we'll tell you a bit more about that later. Some of you might be wondering about the Millie saga that we showed a little bit of at the beginning. Well, we lost her for a day, didn't we?
Well, we didn't quite lose her. We knew where she was. So, as you know, we have this cat tracker system And I spent an hour walking around the marina trying to locate her, and it kept beeping at a random kind of open space in the marina. And eventually I walked up to the boat that you saw in that clip, and it turns out she was in the lazarette, their lazarette that has a door that's automatic.
Very, very smart.
It is smart, yeah.
Good, and she'd gone in there.
Yeah, she did. Well, I'd found her, but I couldn't get her out. So I said, well, let's just leave it. And she'll make her own way out. But of course, then it started raining.
Well, you said that to the wife, but we don't think that the wife told the husband because the husband wasn't there.
Yes, so he closed it when it started raining and locked Millie in. And then it suddenly occurred to me, because I thought, well, that'll teach her a lesson. But I think it's airtight, their lazarette. So she was going to run out of oxygen. So Liz had to go over and pick her up.
Yes,
so.
I did the decent thing. Just to remind you, we're not staying on the boat at the moment because of all the work. You'll have seen what the inside of the boat looks like. So we were in the marina, went over, had a very odd conversation with the owner who had no idea there was a cat on board. But eventually I got there, he opened it very carefully so that we didn't squash her. She was just curled up, very happy.
Thinking, Mum and Dad will come and rescue me.
Yeah, so I picked her up, took her back to the apartment. I think in a way she was a little bit relieved.
I'll tell you who else was relieved. After a bit of ribbing was Tom.
Yes.
That was quite a funny episode. You know, I have to say I'm surprised that acrylic didn't crack before now.
Yeah, it was a new thing for them, so they're learning as well. As you'll have probably noticed, we're all learning quite a lot at the moment, so that was the first time he really used acrylic.
You'll also notice that there was a lot of laughing and swearing and more laughing. And I think it's really important to point out that over here, especially in Thailand, this is the way that Thais deal with problems and errors, is to laugh about it. Sometimes, well, certainly in the past, it's caught us unawares, and it's been kind of frustrating when you're spending money and then there's been a cock up and they just turn around and laugh about it. But it is a cultural thing. It is how they deal with it.
Yeah.
And Ton is a very, very proud man, as you all know. He was a little bit sheepish to start with, but after we had a laugh about it, yeah, it was fun. So the trick is always just to make it amusing.
You have to, otherwise you lose face and they walk off the job. We learnt this when we did the refit, and I personally think it's quite a good way around things. Everybody fucks up now and again, so you know, we're not all perfect, and we're certainly not going to dock his wages or anything like that. He thought it was funny, and we've learned to accept that this is the way it works over here, but it is hard when you first get laughed at when something like that goes wrong.
And finally, in last week's episode, someone had made the comment that we were looking tired and that we should take a vacation to save our health, and I responded with a rather curt reply. Apologies for that, but we have some very sad news, and that is Liz's father, after short illness, passed away a few days ago. So it wasn't a good time for us to be answering comments.
No, and that's probably why we have been looking a little more tired and haggard recently. It's something that we've been dealing with. I spent some time with Dad a couple of months ago, and I was able to say my goodbyes and have a heart-to-heart with him, and it was all good. But he's no longer with us, so we're going to take that holiday now.
So yes, we're going back to the UK. We're flying to the UK and obviously dealing with funeral arrangements and going to Henry's funeral. It'll be an opportunity as well to see family, but yeah. That's what we're going to be doing for the next couple of weeks. So if for any reason we are either not getting out content over the next couple of weeks or just not replying to emails, this is the reason why. But do bear with us. We'll try our best to maintain our schedule.
Yep,
and,
we will.
Get some stuff out for you.
So in the meantime, remember to like, subscribe, share, and most of all, comment. I think there's lots to talk about in this one. And in the meantime,
peace and fair winds. I know, don't talk about seacocks. We've finished work.